Author's point of view. Quick footsteps thudded against the wooden floor, matching the frantic heartbeat of the lady who rushed through the massive corridors of the palace. Royal guards stood stoic as ever, without batting an eye at the commotion, as if under a spell. The reality wasn't far. They moved only when commanded. Panting, the Nain pounded frantically on the wooden door, which the Sangong soon opened. With confusion etched on her face, the senior court lady held the middle aged woman's shoulders and inquired, Myungwa, what troubles you so, Harin? Calm yourself and speak. Harin shook her head, her breath coming out in short pants, while helplessness and fear were woven onto her features. Harin, Her Highness, the princess has vanished from her chambers again. Even she couldn't complete her sentence as Myungwa sprinted out, holding her handbag, and walked as fast as her age allowed her. Myungwa, His Majesty's mercy is spent, Harin. We must locate Her Highness before the twilight falls. Keep your tongue still. This must not reach the ears of the court. Like a woman on a quest, she hurried out from the inner court, trying to keep her expressions neutral. But the worried frown of her brow gave her away. No one was a stranger to the princess always being a handful. The only reason her shenanigans were successful because the king loved and adored the princess too much, but she was a force to be reckoned with. While a few miles away, laughter echoed. The sun shone at its brightest, but its rays fell upon the young lady as if a blessing of the golden hour, highlighting her glowing features even more. The horse whined, making the princess chuckle, and she patted its head, easily calming it down. Moving back to her original spot, she raised her gakung, positioning it, her sharp eyes focused on the target ahead. The arrow shot out, and another apple fell from the tree a few yards ahead, making the princess smile in victory. But her smile died down the moment a familiar, stoic voice interrupted her. Your Highness, it is unseemly to be beyond the palace grounds without an escort. She sighed, turning around to face her royal guard. His tone was as measured as ever. He had found her again. Of course, it was his duty to keep her safe. Now, to take her to palace grounds, he needed to travel on a discreet path. The princess and her secret adventures have always been a handful. She crossed her arms defiantly, standing tall, a futile attempt since he was a big man with 6 feet of height, muscular build, hidden by layers of clothing. His face was as calm as his tone as he waited for her command, eyes cast downward. Oh, how she yearned to have those eyes on her instead. She studied the way sunlight hit his face, making the scar on his left eyebrow stand out. The very same scar he had acquired while protecting her life. The incident still sends shivers down her spine. Princess, I'm hardly unattended, Captain. Not when I can scarcely draw a breath without your shadow falling upon me. Her lips twitched, seeing the small sigh escaping his lips. No one could get under Captain Jungkook's skin except Princess Vine. Over the months, their relationship had infringed the line mostly because of Her Highness, as Captain John didn't dare cross his duty, or tried very hard not to. Captain John, His Majesty would not be pleased, Your Highness. We must get back to the palace. The same calm tone, same cold composure. Not even on the battlefield had she seen him losing his calm. He was a man so intricately woven into her mind, yet she couldn't disclose his secrets. With a curt, resigned nod, she turned to mount her horse, and a hand appeared in the field of her vision. She craned her neck in hopes of seeing those eyes, which sparkled like pearls in sunlight, but to her familiar disappointment, they stayed on the ground. She longed to see the soulful eyes that so rarely allowed a glimpse of his heart, but unfortunately they were never directed at her. His hand was still there, patient and waiting. She placed her hand on his. The calloused skin, a result of endless battles, was stark contrast to her soft one. She wanted to elongate this moment as much as she could, to capture the moment in her heart. The way their hands were so befitting, it sent a thud through her chest. Her next breath hitched as she inhaled the familiar leathery musk while mounting the horse. He, on the other hand, was unfazed as he easily helped her up. The horse began to walk slowly as Captain John guided it across the field. His eyes were straight ahead, while hers was on him. She wished sometimes she had his strength to act normally after everything. Princess Vine, what seems to be the trouble, Captain? She inquired worriedly as he stopped suddenly, making the horse pause its tracks too. Her eyes traced his movements as he strode toward a lake a few feet away. She couldn't make out from a distance, but as he walked back closer, her heart picked up its pace. A sharp pang shot through her chest, her hands growing cold as she saw him quietly offering her the surion he plucked from the water. She took it with a small, sombre smile, the fragile petals soft on her palm. The water droplets sparkled under the sunlight as she inhaled the flower's gentle scent. A heated feeling prickled along her skin, a gaze she knew so well. Despite knowing the disappointment she would face, she gazed up only to find Captain John turning around to resume their journey. She clutched the flower close to her, the only anchor for her in the moment. A faint memory flashed before her eyes, causing her chest to tighten uncomfortably. You'll hurt yourself, Princess. His face was calm, but the worry in his eyes betrayed his inner turmoil. A small, mischievous smile was thrown in his direction as the girl continued to climb the tree, while the boy stood within an arm's reach to catch her. Wine. I don't need to worry when you are there to bear me up, Jungkook. She giggled as he rolled his eyes at her, crossing his arms and started walking away from the tree. Teasing each other was their way of showing affection. Jungkook, you walk with great assurance, princess. That I'd do that for a string. His words were cut short as Vian's leg slipped and she let out a scream. Her eyes scrunched shut, expecting the harsh blow of the soil and ground, but she found herself wrapped in warmth instead. Jungkook's worried face appeared before her eyes as she opened them, and she couldn't stop the smile forming on her lips as she felt his heart thudding against his chest. Her skin prickled at the heat of his arms wrapped around her, while he shook his head, letting her stand on her feet. Jungkook, you're such a trouble. I pity the gentleman who would marry you. He scanned her for injuries as she straightened her hanbok. The silky pastel pink fabric suited her, and Jungkook liked how it made her soft features glow even more, though he denied it otherwise. Wine, spare the pity for yourself, gentleman. She spoke and let out a small laugh, seeing his jaw hang low. A dusty pink glowed on his cheeks, his ears turning red. She flicked his forehead and ran away, while he chased her after, coming back to his senses. Jungkook, what is the matter, princess? Are you well? He asked, his steps halting behind her as he noticed Vian frozen on her tracks on the bridge. His eyes followed her gaze on the lake below, full of white little flowers known as surion. His worry faded away as he observed a smile forming on her face. Vian. Jungkook, would you be so gracious as to fetch them for me? I love them, she requested him, and he stepped down toward the lake. When he got back with a flower, soft against his rough hands, she wasted no time in wrapping her arms around his. Vine, I'm so grateful for your effort. She stepped back and took the fragile flower from his hands gently, her lips stretched into a wide, gleeful smile, which made him smile despite himself. Dear Heaven, I pledge my soul to you if I ever fail to protect the smile on her face. This was one of the days he would never forget. He called her princess because her soul was beautiful like one for him. Everything was like a tale when they were a little younger and unaware of the responsibilities and duties that would fall upon their shoulders in the near future. But who would tell them that destiny was never theirs to begin with?
Princess Vian, greetings to your majesty. She bowed down, holding the skirt of her hanbok. Seated on the throne was the king of Gyeongbokgung Palace and her father. The ominous dread weighing on her chest just increased as his majesty commanded her to rise. Her eyes stayed on the dark, polished wooden floor, which looked lighter because of the sunlight streaming in. Ministers and guards were on either side, and in the center, at the very front, the proud throne of Hansong adorned the court. Usually, the air carried the faint scent of sandalwood, but today it smelled like fear, or maybe it was just the princess. His Majesty started speaking, his voice firm and tinged with authority, commanding the room. The sharp winter air sneaking in despite the sturdy wooden pillars bit the princess's skin, making her clench her fist on the silk fabric of her hanbok. King Doyon, this court has convened today to speak of a matter concerning the stability of the realm. The princess didn't lift her gaze, but the dread in her chest intensified. King Doyon, the kingdom of Yon has extended a proposal of alliance. He paused and added a heartbeat later, but the princess felt it even before he announced it. King Doyon, through marriage. Their crown prince is of fitting age and standing. After due deliberation, this king has accepted their offer. You are to be wed to the crown prince of Yon. He finished with a small smile, but Princess Vian could hear her heart silently breaking into million tiny pieces as if it wasn't already shattered before. Her eyes discreetly flickered toward the reason for her heartbeat, standing in the very back of the outer court. His eyes stayed downward, face stoic, posture rigid, but alert, the perfect soldier doing his duty perfectly. She turned her eyes ahead before she could see the tight grip of his hand on his sword. Bowing to the king, she nodded her head, no hint of emotion on her delicate features, which used to be so full of life. Princess Vian, this daughter receives your majesty's command. The still silence was broken by the clapping of ministers, and the smile on his majesty's face grew wider. King Doyan, for the sake of the people and the future of this kingdom, you will depart within the season. You understand this duty. As your father, I pray for your safety and happiness, daughter. He ordered, his expression softening a little at the end before it slipped away, and the princess nodded her head, helplessness tugging at her insides. It was like drowning in an endless ocean, but instead of water, she was being weighed down by the very crown that people saw as the epitome of freedom, wealth, and power. Oh, how wrong they were!
Sohi, what should this depict, Your Highness? The young girl asked, holding the water dish as she sat close by Princess Mayan to assist her, who was kneeling and brushing soft strokes on the hanji. The artwork was starting to form a beautiful image. Princess Mayan, just a person fighting against their fate for freedom. She brushed her fingers against the drying colors. A man dressed as a soldier was chained, struggling to break free. A dove, white as a soft cloud, was flying away from his hands, as if the soldier was protecting it amidst the chaos. Sohi, just like Her Highness would want to fight for love. Your Highness, the name treaded carefully, and the sombre expression on the princess's face disappeared, and she raised her hand, signaling the end of the conversation. Sohi was the closest to a friend the princess could have. She trusted Sohi to keep the secrets, but the princess didn't trust herself not to burst out all the heartbreak she had silently swallowed over the months or even years. Taking the coup, Sohi sealed her lips shut. But the shadow near the chamber didn't go unnoticed by her. Before she could alert the princess, the shadow moved away, and so his heart broke a little for them. On the other hand, Captain John's grip tightened on his sword as he exhaled, standing in his position to guard the princess. That was his duty. That was all he could ever be to her. It hurt. It hurt so much, but he knew better than to let it get into his head. His face showed no hint of the agony storming inside him. I failed to protect her smile, heavens. He let out a shuddering breath, a pang of regret setting heavy on his chest. He had fought endless battles, had borne so many scars. Yet the most painful wound was of his heartbreaking when he heard the king announcing the princess's wedding. She'll be gone within a few days. She'll never be his. He swallowed the lump forming in his throat, shaking his head to remove these thoughts. Princess could never belong beside someone like him, someone beneath the nobles. I have the sword to protect you, princess, but not the crown. Captain John sucked in a breath, discreetly wiping the traitor's tear sliding down his cheek. A flash of memory made his lips twitch, but broke his heart more at what could have been if he were anyone but a soldier. Vian, your hair is just like soft silk. Looks like your mother took great care of you when young. She smiled, threading her fingers through Jungkook's dark locks, who had rested his head on her lap. He just smiled, nodded his head, in a state of bliss at her soft touch. The night's cool breeze brushed along them, carrying the gentle sound of the stars from the sky, which shone their brightest with the moon, who was glowing as if smiling at them. Jungkook, your father must be worried, princess. And after dark, it's not safe for young ladies to be out alone. He crossed his arms and looked up at her, his eyes twitching with that familiar glint under the moonlight, while Vian squinted her eyes and slapped his cheek lightly. Jungkook, heavens! Ladies should be gentle, my dear. You shouldn't resort to violence when I speak nothing but the truth. Vian, you speak like a clown of the court, young man. Do you count yourself as a shadow? I am with you, and my own will is shield enough against the night. At that, Jungkook just smiled, and his hand raised to back a loose strand of her hair behind her ear. In the twilight, moonlight glowing on her skin, she looked the most beautiful to him. His hand traveled back to her neck, and he slowly ushered her closer to him. His smile widened, seeing a shade of pink glowing on her cheeks. Jungkook, do not speak of guarding yourself, princess. Until the earth claims me, no harm shall ever reach your person. He whispered, planting a soft kiss on her forehead, drinking in the soft lily scent of hers and her sweet sigh as she wrapped her arms around his neck, hugging him. and the warmth of each other's arms was something they never wanted to let go of. The chirping of birds, the sound of insects, the stars, the flowing river, and the moon, everything was just so dreamy, too good to be true. It was too good to be true. Captain John snapped back into reality, swallowing the lump in his throat. Paying no heed to the stabbing in his chest, he stood tall as ever, to keep one promise he made to her, to always protect her.